Hello, good morning. This is Miss Sunshine, and we're here to actually cover different standards that would be tested in the unit test upcoming on hydrology and atmosphere. To begin that, to begin the session, we'll be looking at the following items on Typhoon, and the standard that we have to test in here is related to typhoon formations, weather map reading, and forecasting. So we'll begin with item number one. So item number one shows a typical jet stream pattern in the US during the spring months. During one spring, the jet stream shifted southward, moving across Texas and northern Florida. How would weather in NC that spring compare to that of a typical year? So to answer this type of question, all you have to do is to read a map, observe it carefully, and use your prior knowledge, specifically the things that you have obtained in our session, to to choose the correct answer option. So in this map, you will see that the cold air is moving towards the warm air front, or should I say the cold air is clashing towards the warm, moist air. You're being asked to predict or to basically identify the type of weather that would be experienced in the North Carolina state. So observe the map carefully and you would be able to identify the following possible weather. So it could be either cooler air and drier air, or warmer air and wetter air. And those things should be only be chosen if the map is saying so. So you see that the cool air is moving towards the southward direction, okay? And that is towards Texas and northern Florida. So you know that NC is on the east side or on the east coast. And so we say that the jet stream is a high-speed air, and that is driven by the cold air moving towards the locations of places that has warmer air. So this is the area that we're trying to observe, and so our options are only either cooler and drier or warmer and wetter. So we know that this is cold air moving towards this area. So basically, our choices would be dependent on the kind of air that's moving towards a certain location. So you gotta read off all the destructor that says warm air, because the map is showing that the cold air is moving towards the location of states near North Carolina. So if you see any warm air option, that should not be a good option to choose from. Instead, you're going to gaze your eyes on the options that shows cooler air. Now, we see that there's no rainfall forecast on North Carolina. So if the cooler air is combined with a wetter kind of weather, then that may not be a correct prediction because the map is not showing any rain clouds. But instead, if you see a colder air or a cooler air with a dry temperature or drier weather, then that might be the best answer option that you have to choose from. So if we're going to drag this screen all the way down, these are all the options that you have to look into. Like what I mentioned, you're just going to have to focus on cooler and drier, or anything that has cold or cooler verb or adjective, because that is actually the only focus of the map that you're seeing. So anything that shows warm or warmer weather, that should not be part of your answer options. Instead, those are considered as destructors. So among the two things, so it's not going to be wet because there's no rain clouds. So it's going to be cooler and drier weather in North Carolina for this particular spring, which is reflected in the map. Okay, so we go to the next item. So in the next item, we have the high winds and torrential rains of hurricane can cause damage to cities and natural areas in its path. When we talk about torrential rains, this is more frequent in continuous rains and never stops. And I'm so sure that you have experienced this yourself. A hurricane is likely to gain the most strength when it travels over the following options. So we know from our prior knowledge that one of the components that makes a hurricane strong is the temperature of the surface water. If the temperature of the surface water is so warm, then that could boost or fuel up the strength of the typhoon. So in this case, all the options that shows cool or that does not reflect the concept of hurricane formation, which is from our discussion, and that would add up or that had add up to your information or knowledge in the lesson, is one of the important things that could fuel the hurricane is warm surface water, which is on a 27 degrees Celsius, some movements of the air pressure or changes in the air pressure, and even continuous evaporation and condensation or formation of clouds. So when these three things are available, then that would be an evidence that hurricane would be formed, and that would be considered destructive as it moves towards a land or as it takes a landfall. So from this option or from this item, we have to choose from the best that should reflect the correct answer. So again, if you don't see anything related to those factors, then those things are all destructors. So if you see cold ocean, that's not going to fuel the hurricane more. If you see a cold land, that's not going to create fuel or that's not going to strengthen the hurricane more. So note that the word most is emphasized here. So which among the options down below shows which among the options down below would most likely to gain or would allow hurricane to likely gain most strength when it travels over a certain location. So all this A and B, cool ocean and inland area, are not the factors that would give most strength to hurricane as it forms. Instead, warm ocean is the best answer. As we know, salty ocean is not contributing anything to the strength of hurricane. So moving forward in item number 3. So you got here a chart, and the chart shows the heat index, which uses the relationship between air temperature and relative humidity to predict how hot a day feels. So humidity is how the weather feels. For example, a day with an air temperature of 85 Fahrenheit will feel cooler at 0 degree percent relative humidity. It feels much hotter at 100% relative humidity. So using the same heat index chart, you have to evaluate the scenario over here. Carrie is watching a softball game on a hot day. To her, the air temperature feels like it's about 100 Fahrenheit. However, she sees a bank thermometer that says it's only 90 Fahrenheit. What is the most likely relative humidity at the game? So you have to go ahead and use all the given data to make sure that you will get the relative humidity. So let's go back to this relative humidity chart, or what we call the heat index in Fahrenheit and air temperature. So according to the bank temperature, the actual temperature in the area is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And according to her observation, it actually feels 100 degrees. So if we're going to try to trace 90 degrees Fahrenheit over here all the way to the given information in the scenario, so it feels like 100 Fahrenheit. So you're being asked about what is the relative humidity in that location. So if you're going to trace 90 degrees Fahrenheit, cross it all the way to 100 degrees Fahrenheit feels. So this is the actual and this is how it feels. And we trace it all the way to the left and we see that it is on a 60% relative humidity. So anytime you encounter this kind of chart or question, all you gotta do is to meet or allow a certain factor to meet with the next factor or variable. And whatever data that actually shows when those two the variables meet would be the most correct answer to choose from. So it's not 40, it's not 80, it's not 100. It is 60% relative humidity. So we move forward to option number 4, or item number 4. Item number 4 shows a 7-day forecast, and this is a temperature that is found in degrees Fahrenheit. Now here is the question. So the drama club is choosing a day of an outdoor fundraising performance. According to the forecast, which of these days is likely to be most comfortable? When we say comfortable, it has to have a moderate temperature. There should not be any precipitation, or the wind should blow in a low amount. So if you try to observe this map, so definitely Wednesdays and Thursdays are not the best time of the week to be outside because it's gonna rain, and the projection of rainfall is at 80%. Now, Monday and Tuesday also show some rainfall prediction. So Wednesday, Thursdays, Mondays, and Tuesdays are not the best time for an outdoor activity. So you're left with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Apparently, when we say comfortable weather, the wind should blow in a very minimal amount. And Saturday and Sunday seems to show that though they are showing fair weather, but the wind is not favorable for any outdoor drama club activity that you might expect, because the things might fly, or there might be some things that may happen that is beyond our control due to the strength of the wind that would blow in the area. So you're left with fair weather with very comfortable wind movement and no precipitation prediction. So that's how you try to analyze a weather map. So you gotta have to always contextualize it based on the given scenario. So let's go down to the other options, and then again we see here that Friday is the best answer. So on item number 5, you see here the radar image shows weather that is affecting a portion of the United States. The radar weather map of the United States shows this particular image. The question is, what type of severe weather is clearly shown in this map? So when we say weather or severe weather, you only have two options. It's either tornado or typhoon or hurricane. So remember, typhoon, hurricane, and cyclone are the terms called for weather disturbance that formed from the surface of the ocean and move across the inland or move across a certain location. So as it moves in a cyclic way, and if it forms in the northern hemisphere, it's moving anti-clockwise. If it forms in the southern hemisphere, it's moving clockwise. So you're gonna have to use your observation scale and ask yourself, what kind of weather disturbance is this? Okay, so among the options that you have down below, what do you think is this? So you got a cyclic turn moving counterclockwise, and it covers a lot of rain clouds from a vast location. So most probably this is none other than hurricane. So that is not tornado, that's not even heat wave, that's not even snowstorm, but instead, obviously, that is the hurricane. So we move forward to the next item. So another 7-day forecast is shown below. And when that's the kind of question, you have to always understand the scenario. So the scenario here is saying that golfing in severe weather can be dangerous due to the possibility of lightning strikes. You know what's a golf sports, right? So when you do that on a severe weather, that could be very dangerous due to the possibility of lightning strikes. According to the forecast, which of this would be the worst day to plan a golf outing? So the opposite of what we have to look into this map is not the best day to do it, but the worst day to do it. So the following options here, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, are not the worst day to go out. So your only choice will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you got here a humid storm slate, or a humid weather with some amount of sunlight, but there will be some precipitation on that day. So as the day Wednesday and Thursday is the only time or the only day in the week where there will be no sunlight and it's gonna have, it's gonna pour so much rain. According to the weather map, it says that more rain and more humid or more humidity will be experienced in here. So when you do that, you're gonna have to choose again the worst day to go out and play golf. And the answer is none other than Thursday. So we go to item number 7. So in item number 7, each arrow on the chart below indicate the direction of the surface winds. So you got here arrows going towards the land and arrows going from the land towards the ocean. According to the chart, which of these states is experiencing winds blowing inland from the Atlantic Ocean? So what does it mean? If you're gonna try to magnify the picture, so you'll see here the different arrows. So let's try to study. So you only have Pennsylvania, Virginia, Florida, and Las Vegas. So when the question asks you to identify the states or a particular location in the US which will experience wind blowing inland from the Atlantic Ocean. So those are very important part of the question. So the wind should come from the Atlantic Ocean and it will move towards the land. So which state is showing that kind of description? So let's begin with LA. So we see that the arrow is moving towards this location. Apparently, we are looking at the wind from the Atlantic Ocean. And since this is in the west side of the US, so the wind is blowing from the Pacific Ocean when we take a look at this map. So all the wind here is moving inland to LA, but the wind is not from Atlantic. Instead, it's from the Pacific Ocean. So LA is a destructor. So we move towards Florida. So if you're gonna see Florida, there are several arrows moving from Florida towards the water formation or the water form, which is the Atlantic Ocean. So we're looking for the wind that blows from the Atlantic Ocean going to the land. So this is kind of like the opposite of what we're looking for because the wind from Florida is moving towards the Atlantic Ocean. So Florida is a destructor. So we go to the next one, Virginia. So in this map of the US, you got there arrows moving towards Virginia or air moving towards Virginia. Apparently, it's moving from another land. So this is wind blowing from a different state going to Virginia. And the question is asking us what particular state shows that the wind is blowing from Atlantic Ocean going to inland or going to that location. So we're left with Pennsylvania. Okay, so Pennsylvania or PA kind of show like Atlantic Ocean wind is moving towards it. So among all the 4 options, it is the Pennsylvania that is best suited to be selected as the correct answer. So that's how you read a map and that's how you kind of like evaluate the map. You're taking a look at it long and analyzing whatever is it that the problem or the question is requiring you to do so. So Florida is a destructor, LA is a destructor, Virginia is a destructor, and the correct answer is Pennsylvania. So we move forward to item number 8. In item number 8, the weather map shows radar estimated precipitation across the US for 7-day period. So this is a radar estimated precipitation this week. Now you are asked to observe the map and then according to the map, people in which region of the United States were likely to be most concerned about flooding. So what does it mean? So when we say region, it's just basically south, north, east, west. So know that north, if the region is in between north and east, we call that the northeast region. If the region is between north and west, so that is called northwest region. If the region is between east and south, that is southeast region. If the region is in between south and west, then that is southwest region. So, we're using that prior knowledge, you're gonna have to just observe the map of the US. Moreover, you have to also look into the legend that is reflected in the map. And it seems to show the length or the height of flood that could be seen in each location. So a lighter gray over here is less than 1 inches. So that's not even a flood. So anything in the west, okay, southwest, and northwest may or should not be concerned about flooding because the type of water that would be experienced in that area is less than 1 inch. So we move on to the next one. So this one is medium gray. So this one shows 1 to 2 inches of flooding height. So if we're gonna take a look at the area in the north, okay, so you got there, some areas there would have like 2 inches. And it doesn't seem to be really bothersome because that's still very low to be worried about. So we're going to take a look at the 3 to 4 inches legend, which is represented by darker hue of gray. So same thing. So there are some locations in the northwest, okay, and in the northeast that should not be bothered about flooding because their area is not having severe flood height. Now we move forward to the darker shade of black. So that is creating 8 inches of flood. So that's more than a ruler's height. Okay. So if we're gonna try to take a look at this, so this area could be affected. This area could be affected, this area could be affected, and this area could be affected. So majority of the area is somewhere here. So that means what kind of region does it reflect or represent? So remember, northwest is over here, northeast is over here, southwest is over here, and southeast is over here. So among the 4 regions that I mentioned, obviously, it is the southeast region that should be bothered and worried about the possible flooding that could be experienced by the community members over there. So northeast, northwest, and southwest are all destructors. And southeast shows the highest rainfall that could lead to flooding. Item number 9. So in item number 9, the forecast map shows areas across the United States where precipitation is predicted. So you got here high pressure, low pressure area, heavy snow possible on the following locations that is pointed at the arrow. And you got here rainfall and possible snow, okay? Or there are also areas that show no precipitation at all. In which of these states would the forecast also most likely predict temperature close to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit? So remember, what we need to look at is most likely close to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit. So it's just cold, but it's not really showing any sign of heavy snow. Okay, possible snow, but it may not be as severe as what is experienced in different locations. So let's go back to the map. It shows here that heavy snow could be experienced by the following state that is pointed in the arrow. Since you're an American citizen, you know exactly the states pointed out in here than I do, okay? So these are the locations that that is gonna experience heavy snow. So when you say heavy snow, that is not close to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit, because that is below 0 degrees Celsius or -degrees Celsius and very cold to the point that they would have really huge amount of snowfall in that area. So moving forward, so you got there, Michigan might have heavy snow prediction, um, and West Virginia as well. Okay, now we say, um, what do you call this? We say Arizona will not have any precipitation at all. It's not shown in the map, and we got Louisiana over here. So among the area, so Michigan and West Virginia will have heavy snow prediction, while Arizona will not have any precipitation at all because it doesn't show in the map. So you're left with Louisiana. So among all the 3 states or 4 states that you have here, which do you think would be close to 0 degrees or cold weather or rainfall with a 32-degree Fahrenheit? So after observing that, that should be the state called Louisiana. So any other state will serve as a destructor because the map shows that Louisiana would not have that much of snow, but mostly cold weather brought about by rainfall. So Michigan, Arizona, and West Virginia are destructor, and Louisiana is the best answer. So we move forward to item number 10. So in item number 10, we got here, the map below shows yearly average for the number of severe thunderstorm watches. So you got there all thunderstorm area. And this is the average weather patterns of thunderstorm from 1999 to 2008. Your question, based on the information in the map, which region is most likely to have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect during storm season? So note that the darker the shade of the legend, the more severe the thunderstorm is. So again, you're asked about which region. So it's just either northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest. Okay, so over here, you got a very dark place or dark legend. And based from the legend, when you got a dark shade of color, you might have severe thunderstorm. Now, the problem is what region is that? So it's not northeast, it's not southwest, it's not southeast either. So whatever is left, okay, is the best answer. In this case, the answer options gives you the Midwest. So therefore, the Midwest is the correct answer. So moving forward, we go to the next question, which is a major source of air pollution. So when you say air pollution, these are the pollutants that actually affects cloud formation and eventually, affects negatively the air quality. So all of this is a destructor because planting more trees is not a contributor of air pollution. Building dams for hydroelectric plants shows no relation about air pollution. The production of energy using solar and nuclear power seems to show no relationship about the cause of air pollution. But the last option about farming, raising large number of animals such as poultry animals, those are immediate contributors of air pollution. Based from your prior knowledge on the lessons that we had, remember that fertilizers and other chemicals that is added to the farm might go to the air or to the atmosphere and eventually cause poor quality of air. So the answer here is small farm raising large number of animals, that shows cows and pigs and other farm animals could be the primary contributor of air pollution. So we go to item number 12. A city is experiencing heavy smog formed by motor vehicle exhaust. Which of this weather condition contributes most to the formation of smog? So we know smog is a smoke and a fog together. From the demonstration that I showed you, when we try to create cloud in a jar, we had an experience seeing a jar with a normal heat from from normal water vapor trapped from the hot water and mixed with the cold air from the ice on the top of the lake is lesser clouds compared to the mug or to the jar with some spray or hairspray on it or burnt paper. So we see that human-induced activities such as using spray net or hairspray or any scent that that mixed with the air could be a contributor of what we call smog. So here are the following options that you have to choose from. Is it dry, cold front, tropical cyclone, so then other than temperature inversion? Note that temperature inversion is a technical term for the changes in the temperature of the air. So if the land and water is exposed to just an amount of heat, it may not take a quick time for evaporation to take place. So that means evaporation or turning water to vapor may take a while, and that means cloud formation may take a while. So that will also affect the amount of rain that would fall down on the land. So when you try to initiate more possible exposure to heat due to human activities, now evaporation would be fast, making cloud formation faster and possible precipitation to pour in a large amount. So I hope it makes sense for this item. The temperature inversion is one big factor for weather condition. Next item, number 13. Which of these has been controlled in an attempt to reduce the depletion of ozone in Earth's atmosphere? So from our discussion about Earth's layer or Earth's atmospheric layer, we know that it's in the stratosphere where we can find ozone. And government have tried their best to mitigate and control the use of different compounds that could affect the ozone. And among all the compounds is what we call the CFC or chlorofluorocarbon from the coolants, air conditioning unit, hairspray, and scents that would disrupt the ozone. As an effect, it's going to create more UV light that would reach the ground and that would affect our health. So here, when you see the word or the compound chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs, this is a major contributor of disruption of the ozone layer of the Earth. So item number 14. So when a stratospheric ozone levels are reduced, the amount of ultraviolet radiation hitting Earth increases. Ozone depletion is most often caused by, so this is mostly related to that previous item that is shared to you. So ozone depletion is mostly related to the compound chlorofluorocarbon. So if you see anything related to that, then that would be the best answer. Item number 15. So you see here an electricity generating power plant that emits different amounts of pollutants. Depending on the energy source that they use, you're going to have to compare the emission average on the table. Which combination of power plants is likely to cause the greatest decrease in the pH of downwind precipitation? Take note that the question did not really say acid rain, but the question is describing decrease in pH. So we know that when the pH is lower than 7, that will be considered as acidic solution or acidic level. When the pH is higher than 7, that is considered as a basic solution. Apparently, the word here is decrease in the pH. So lower amount of pH scale would lead to acidity. And precipitation here is a technical term for a possible rainfall. So among all the things that is being asked here, we're just actually asked about where or what particular resource could contribute to the amount of acidic or turning the rain into acidic or acid rain precipitation. So let's try to study the chart. Know that carbon dioxide is the major gas or compound that makes the greenhouse hotter. So this is a relationship, or this compound is mostly related to greenhouse effect and global warming. While nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide over here, or NO2 and SO2 here, are two different compounds that could affect the acidity level of the air and or of the solution. So when we say higher contributors, we're gonna look into the higher contributor of acidic rain. So among all this data, so coal has 6 and oil has 4. So these are the gas that is released whenever they process the coal and the oil. On the other hand, we got here 13 sulfur dioxide for coal and 12 sulfur dioxide for oil. Note that it's actually showing clearly in the chart that coal and oil are major contributor of acid rain because of much production of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. So if you see those two words together, then that is the best answer. The rest are considered as destructive. And here you go, coal and oil seems to show us the first option in this answer option list. So moving forward, item number 16. In item number 16, which human activity has contributed to the formation of the hole in the ozone layer? So again, we're talking about ozone layer. So this is supposed to be related to our CFC. Okay, so the chlorofluorocarbon. So we see that is also another option to, what do you call this, to choose from. And that is the best option among all the other activities. So we go to the next one. Which activity most affects the atmosphere? So you got a drilling for oil, transporting oil, or basically using oil as fuel for trucks or any vehicle. So according to the expert, widespread of burning of oil in trucks contributes to the most carbon to the atmosphere out of these examples. We go to item number 18. Which industrial activity contributes the most carbon dioxide to the global atmosphere? So which industrial activity contributes the most carbon dioxide to the global atmosphere? So which one? Paper manufacturing. So carbon dioxide is released from fuel when paper is manufactured, but paper itself stores carbon. Aluminum refining. So this is really, whenever we open any machinery that would make these industries work, they always release a carbon dioxide because they needed fuel to make that happen. Apparently, we're looking at the most contributor of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and there's no other than bigger contribution than the rest, but the manufacturing of cements, because this could be considered as burning fuels to calcify the cement. And when this occurs, the limestone and the clay is heated so long, and that is going to create more carbon dioxide emission than the rest of the options given here. 19. Which would have the greatest global effect on atmospheric quality? So this is just about air quality. So if you're going to look into your answer options, so reducing hydrocarbons, production from agriculture, this is not about air quality, but this is about this is about limited way, or according to the option that we have here, biomass crops would have limited effect on carbon in the atmosphere, because this is just allowing all the manures to to be processed as a possible nourishment to the plants. So that's like less contributor. We go to the recovering methane from municipal solid waste landfill sites. Well, this is actually utilizing things. So recovering methane from landfill sites would have more local effect. Okay. Next, reducing the gas emitted during electricity generation. So know that fossil fuel used generate electricity across the globe and releases carbon dioxide and air pollutants. And lastly, recovering volatile compounds from building materials. So VOCs from building materials would have more local effect. So we're looking at the global effect on the atmospheric quality. So if you're trying to like mitigate or limit, so it has to be related to gas emission and electricity generation. The rest would have like just a small um, help, but that could also help. Okay, but if we read off all this emitted carbon dioxide by limiting our consumption of fuel due to changing of our activity or changes in the activity that we do, then that would help our environment better. So when we go to the last item, here it is. It says air quality alerts are public health warnings about dangerous air quality. The alerts are color coded as shown in the table. So it says that when it's green, the air quality is good. When it's moderate, when it's yellow, the air quality is moderate. When it's orange, it could be unhealthy to breathe the air in a location because of, people who has asthma or lung problem may not like it. Red code, meaning unhealthy air, is recorded. Purple code, meaning very unhealthy air, is seen and recorded. And maroon code is hazardous air, which will be detrimental to our health. The question is, in the summer, meteorologists often issue an air quality alert if the forecast calls for calm winds, high humidity, and warm temperature. On these days, the sky becomes hazier and visibly decreases as they progress. The number of particles in the air determines the air quality, which determines the color of the alert. Question: which circumstance would most likely have greatest number of days with alert of yellow or worse? So what do you think would be the best location wherein yellow or worse than this could be seen as a code that would warn very poor air quality? So where can we find that? Know that from our prior knowledge, highly urbanized location could be not a good place to stay because of the very poor air quality that is, seen in there. So in the option, if you see here anything related to that, then that would be the best option. And there you go. Larger cities where commuters rely on personal cars is the best or is the worst place to stay when it comes to having a very poor air quality in a location. The rest are, statements that are telling the other things apart from what is being asked. So that ends our practice on the concept of standard number 4, covering typhoon, weather map prediction, forecasting, and atmosphere. Okay.